Welcome to All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. You can download our podcast on all platforms every Friday. Clinched is a sports app that helps link clubs with coaches. If you were a coach in rugby, soccer or GAA and you are ready for your next role or your first role, download and sign up to Clinched app for free today.
And Leinster looking to counter here. Sean O'Brien, well, if there's one player who can take a hit from Courtney Laws and stand and see it off and bounce off.
Raised thanks to the accurate free-taking of John Doyle. 2 points between the teams.
Football is hurling, and maybe in that moment should have slipped maybe Kelly to goal. Like, have a conversation and say, I want to make that decision, but it ultimately comes down to them.
Hello and you're very welcome to episode 24 of All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. I'm delighted to be joined by not one Kildare legend but two Kildare legends here this evening. I've Johnny Doyle here with me. Johnny, you're welcome. And
thanks Podge. It was a lovely introduction.
Yeah, whatever, Johnny. Hello, we're delighted to have you, Johnny. And we're delighted to be joined by former Kildare, Eadstown Kildare and international rules representing Ireland player Emmet Bolton, current manager of Eadstown Bulls. Thanks a million for coming in.
No bother, Podge. Delighted to be here.
Much appreciated.
Legend is a loose term now. It's Johnny in the corner.
I'd have you up there.
Legend. You want Johnny Doyle?
We'll take you down a peg or two all along. We won't give you. We'll build you up to take it down, boys.
Only a minute in, lovely.
No, look, delighted and really appreciate you coming in. I'm sure the listeners as well.
This is like an episode of Reeling in the Years, you know. Well, you were the young lad coming in, and me and both. Well, I was probably the young lad coming. You were the young lad, and now look at him. He's
I was actually thinking about it the other day. I was like, my first training with Kildare, I got pulled across. I was with the juniors, and got pulled across for a game, wing forward, and I was you won't remember, but I remember I was marking you. I was just thinking about when I got 2 points in my first session. I was delighted, but looking back, you probably got about 1-4 from wing back.
Who's marking Bourne?
Well, one of my last games playing with Easttown, the year before I retired, I was marking him in the championship. I kicked about 8 points off. So I was in full back. I was working my way back with Easttown.
You beat us, didn't you? You beat us that.
He
that
said,
day, yeah.
you were saying that before Emma came in, and you were injured, and you still kicked 8 points.
No, you beat us. I think you took a ball off me that just ended up getting a goal off. So you won that battle probably. But yeah, and I suppose it's playing career, and we'll get to that. But it's been management the last 2 years. I suppose we'll look back at last weekend's games, and I'd say you're still disappointed. It's always disappointing when you're knocked out a championship. It was kind of a funny old game against Johnstown. I was in at it, and yeah, I'm sure just disappointed and still kind of thinking about it, and yeah, I suppose.
It's really disappointing. I suppose they've made great progress over the last 2 years. We got to a preliminary quarter final last year as well, and they probably weren't ready. You know, had emotionally got to a pitch against Naas, Sarsfields, Confi, and then playing Clane a second time. I think it was just too much for them. Like, we were 3 weeks in a row at that stage. So this year, like, did a good bit of work on that from the mental side of it. Physically, they were in good shape. Now, we were down a clatter of bodies over the course of the league and championship as well. But I thought, you know, from a mental point of view, especially, that they'd be able to, you know, kind of grind out that game against Johnston Bridge, because they had done it against Confi, done it against Carberry, played some really good football off the back of it. After 2 poor performances by our own standards against a tie, like got bet by 20 points against a tie, and we were missing a few, and then got bet by 14 against Cara. So they dug it out and kind of recovered well, to be fair to them, and put in 2 good performances. So it was just really flat, you know, and that's the most disappointing thing. You do mind losing, but you don't mind losing if you've emptied the tank and given it everything and died with your boots on. But it just didn't happen. You know, we were just so flat and didn't play to the levels that they could, didn't play with the intensity that they could. To be fair to them, like, from an age demographic point of view, they're kind of, the majority of them are like mid-20s and under. So, like, there's speed there, there's pace, there's agility, and just never kind of showed that really over the course of the 60 minutes. They did it for maybe 8 or 9 minutes and put in a couple of little bursts, but had a slow start and clawed it back and went in 7 down. But with the new rules, you wouldn't be worried about that, with a couple of 2-pointers or whatever. But just never got going in the second half. With 15 to go, I was there like, it's on.
Yeah, you were catching momentum in the game. And it was kind of...
And that's not taken away from Johnston Bridge now. It's
they I'm sure weren't happy with that, especially their second half. It was a funny kind of a breeze in there, because it is like, I'm sure now when you're going out in games, like it's nearly a game to 2 halves.
Oh, it is.
You have to make use of the wind, but it was just a weird swirling wind. Like Suncroft and Ellistown were before you, and it was like coming straight down into the goals. Then the second half, it didn't really seem, or in the second game, it didn't really seem to be favouring anyone. It was funny.
I think it blew one way and then blew another way and then blew across the pitch. It was weird, because I was looking at the flags on the far side, and for 5-minute segments, like the wind's like down, it's picked up again, it's favouring them, now it's favouring us. So it was
funny old conditions when you are trying to work.
Isn't that the hardest part of being involved in a team? Obviously when you're playing, it's different because you feel you're in control of certain things, and really maybe if you're in a part of a defensive system, or you're trying to help the lads beside you and stuff like that, but primarily it's really about you performing as an individual. And then you're thinking, right, okay, you mentioned a couple of games that you didn't perform. Then you get up, you're thinking, okay, what was different? Why did it? What? And really, they're all things out of your control. But that's the hardest part. You're left scratching your head all week, like, Jenny, is there something we should have done? Was I, you might take a gamble on a player, and if he works, you're seen as a genius. If you're not, you're seen as sure, he hasn't a clue. And all this is going on. It's such a hard one to get right and to try feel, and then there comes a point in time you just have to bury it and say it.
But like even the mood, so the mood wasn't great after a tie, but knew that we were missing a couple of lads, and lads were coming back from injury. Same after Cara, and it's amazing how about one training session does, or one game does. Like putting a really good performance against Carberry, dug it out. We're down with 2 with I think 7 or 8 minutes to go, and dug it out and won by I think it was 2 or 3 in the end. Jeez, that's the mood of training that week. It was different. Massive shift. And then we trained really well before Johnstown Bridge. I'd watched their Selbridge game, watched the Athy game, so found a couple of areas there that we thought we could exploit, and was really confident going into the game. Knew it would be a dogfight, like, because of the lads that they have at their disposal, and just so disappointing that they didn't perform. So disappointed for them, because the goal was to get to a quarter final for us, and then everything after that is a bonus, and see how you go. So just on the day it was just so disappointing. So it's really disappointing for them.
I suppose, like, it's, I know you're involved with Flano with the 20s a few years back, but we were just speaking about March 2 years ago. You went from, say, you retired and straight into management, and with Easttown, like, it's probably don't hear of that many lads that kind of maybe retire and go straight in. So obviously, look, they knew you had a kind of big respect to the players, but how did you find that going from playing into manager role next year? Like, have you enjoyed it? It's probably was it your first role, I suppose, in senior management with a team? It's been 2 years now. Have you, like, as you say, you got quarter final last year and real good buzz, and obviously disappointed to lose to Johnstown Bridge. Have you enjoyed the whole? Is it what you thought it was?
It's tough. Like, I retired 2 years ago. One too many concussions, so kind of that was on a Friday, and just happened to be talking to the chairman over the weekend, and came up in conversation, and next thing sure by Monday I was managing Easttown, so wasn't really on the radar.
And Tolian on Tuesday.
But I had done a little bit with the club 21s a couple of times, and enjoyed the coaching aspect of it, and done from the management side of it with the 21s. It was only yourself, like, it's only really short window. Like, you're looking at 6 to 8 weeks there max, and kind of the training sessions maybe 2 or 3 weeks before a game or whatever. So had a little bit kind of experience in that and knowing what it'd be like. But then the hard part for me was and thought really hard about it obviously over the 2 or 3 days, but was you're only after finishing with these lads, you're friends with them, you're managing your brother now, you're managing lads that you would have played with for the last 10-12 years, you're managing younger guys that have come up from minors and stuff. The relationship is going to change. You're going to be the dickhead now. You're going to have to make all the tough decisions. No issue with that or whatever, but it was just, is this the right time for me to do that? And Desi Brennan had taken us for, I think it was 2 years before that, and kind of was stepping away. So just organically, it kind of happened. And to be straight with you, like, really enjoyed it, and I have really enjoyed it the last 2 years. I suppose I'm in a different position, and like if you took over Alamode and you took over Lawrence, you're in a different position in that results are really important, but the primary goal is player retention, player development, and culturally trying to shift them to a different level in terms of, you know, numbers of training, doing all the right things behind the scenes, having the right attitude, not that they didn't have the right attitude, but to have that consistently, and then to inspire the younger kids, boys and girls, like the women are doing in Easttown, they're going for 6 in a row this year now, just to inspire them to want to play with Easttown seniors. So you're kind of trying to get that balance right, you know, to bring all of that to where it needs to be and still try getting results off the back of that. But I think they kind of come hand in hand as well to a degree. So we've made inroads with them. Like if I was to walk away now tomorrow, you'd say, look, we've left them in a better place. Yeah. We're up to kind of early 30s there in terms of numbers that are training now, whereas would have been in like 15, 16, 17 over the last number of years. But that's completely down to the players. Like the little leadership group there, they sort everything out. You know, they text each other, why were you not training? You need to be there, you need to be present. And then that's just created a whole different mood and an atmosphere, and they enjoy going and training now, which is great. And you know, ultimately we're just holding the reins and letting them at it, which is it's really enjoyable.
It does change, like as a player, and even like said, you said manager, like it does change so much when you have your 26 or 30 lads training. Like there's so many more things you can do, or you can play matches. You can play a match.
Training should be about facing down the difficult situations we're facing in a game.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with 15 or 16.
No.
You know, you'll come up with maybe a drill or an intense small-sided game, but it doesn't replicate what you're meeting in the championship, in the melting pot. Like, and that's what you have to expose the players to as often as possible. So when it does come that this is their default is the norm and how it should be done.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, I suppose, for maybe rural clubs, that the numbers are that little bit lower, you know.
Yeah, and you just want them to get to a point in training where they're comfortable being uncomfortable, the usual stuff, and to just work hard and dig in and have the right attitude, so that come game time at the weekend then, like, all the work is done for that, and it's just second nature then come to that. But you know, so they're in a good place, to be fair to them, and it's all led by them. So like I'm happy enough with where they're at.
Yeah,
they are.
And it's funny you mentioned that Emmet, like, you know, for example, if you go into another club, you're just totally, you know, a different. Your job is a senior. You can do what you know. I mean, you can dog them for a year or two, thinking, I don't care what happens to these boys when I'm gone. This is my job. Where it's probably a more difficult job in your own school, because you want to leave the place in a better place, and you want to, as you say, you know, you're thinking, okay, well, maybe I won't raid the second team because they're important in this. Where if I went in, I'd be thinking, well, the second job is someone else's worry. I have to get the best players for, you know. So
there is a few.
It is, yeah.
But they are decisions, like, you know, even over the course of last year and this year, like they are decisions that and they're things that you're thinking on the sideline. Like, we need to do something here. Jeez, we can't bring Johnny on. He's a second team game on Monday. If we bring him on now for 5 minutes, he's going to miss the whole year. Then second, and he'll get no football. Yeah. So they're all decisions that you're trying to make on the sideline. And whereas you're right, if you were going into a different club there,
it's
not only serve one master here.
And sometimes it could be your own go, James, will you bring him on?
You don't
really understand all that.
You see, when that's the other side of of management, I heard, I was during the summer, I was listening to some podcast, but it was a lad in the club in Cork, and he was going mad with the manager. And you didn't play Poddy, one of our best players, and he was going mad about Poddy, this Poddy, that, you should have been Poddy. And he just said, you know, Poddy broke his leg. Do you know what I mean? But there's no context about it. Do you know? And people don't get it. Every decision that you make is like gone through with a fine tooth comb. Whether we do it, you know, and you're so much. So for me to rock in and say, "Oh, why didn't you play this lad?" You have a clue.
But especially with your own club, you're doing it for the right reasons. You're doing your best, and whether a lad doesn't play or does play, you're doing it for the betterment of the team. And you're going to annoy lads, you're going to annoy his father, you're going to annoy his mother, his cousins, you're going to annoy people in the parish.
You're ever going in,
but you have to stick to your convictions.
Because it is sometimes, like, I suppose you mentioned it there, like Keane being your brother, and like, sure, what age is Keane now? Probably 33, 34. Like, he was man the match when he won an intermediate championship in, I think it was 2014. Anytime, like, you play Eadstown, Keane is the main man up front and the scorer that you're trying to tie down. And like, you were probably using him more as an impact sub this year.
Well, he tore his adductor off the bone.
Right, okay.
So, but still, to be fair to him, he was there, I'll tug out, I'll get 20 minutes fit. If you need me in the edge of the square, I'll go in the edge
I
of the
kicked the
square.
2-pointer. I think it was against Comfy.
Yeah,
Came on,
brilliant,
but as you say, there's another one. Like it's not probably a difficult. You can probably speak to Keane more and talk about different things because he's an experienced player. But I'm sure it's a big difference in playing with him and then managing him. Kind of. So you can kind of see what's going on.
But that's the challenge of management. Like, if it was just to go out and say, right, I'll organise the training and don't worry about it, it's very enjoyable. It's all that other stuff, and then you can overthink things as well. And you know, you maybe drop the player and you meet the father going down the road and he doesn't salute you. You know,
I've
all
done,
this stuff, you know, and he mightn't even see you.
Well, you're never going to keep everyone happy.
No,
you're probably doing something wrong.
You're doing something wrong.
But look, you make loads of mistakes as well, and I was lucky that it's who you surround yourself with as well. Like you would have played against Robbie Jamieson, Barry Lawler, you know, Sean O'Sullivan would have played with us when we were on the 2014 team, and Owen Cummins got involved with us this year as well. So all good lads. Like Robbie had a load of experience, Sean used loads of experience as well, and Cummo and Barry were really good to read games well and kept you honest.
Yes,
because first time senior manager made loads of mistakes, probably threw too much at them at the very start. You know, you're trying to go here, you know, and you know, they're like, will you just relax there for a minute? Do you know what I mean? And just stick to the basics, and then slowly add the stuff in. You want to reinvent the wheel straight away.
Yeah, of course. And then you have to realise that this is not an inter-county team either, which you know, we always say, listen, there's more in you, and it's the environment maybe you'd be used to playing in yourself and say, right, push this. But the reason maybe they're not at that level is because they don't, you know, that's not in their mindset. So that's a slow thing to get them there. And you're so right about the people that you have surrounding you. Like, if the three of us, Podge as manager, we could have a huge debate about playing so and so, and I totally disagree. Once that door's open and we go out, we have to be so united.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
and you can't be going saying, "Well, I wanted you." No, you have to be.
The message has to be the same.
It has to be the same, because players will. You know, a mixed message. They'll read it and they'll use it against you as well. You know, so that's hugely important to have those people around.
Yeah, and all East Town men as well, which you know,
which is a help. Because they have the club at heart.
Yeah.
In terms of coaching and managing, do you like being hands-on, say training wise? Do you like to kind of say sometimes stand back and watch, or like do you enjoy? Like, I know, say I've got into managing, but I really enjoy the coaching. Like sometimes then, you know, and I've a few really good lads with me, and I'd be standing back watching, but I'm like, I prefer being out. You know, doing the
jump in.
That's the part I enjoy most. Do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy kind of watching from afar or chatting, pulling a lad, or you know, like, or probably a mix, I suppose.
Try to mix it up a bit. So like you would have had Sean O'Sullivan and Owen Cummins in year 2 doing the warm up and say for the first 20-25 minutes, and then Robbie would have looked after. So me and Robbie would have sat down and gone through kind of defensive setup that we wanted. So Robbie would have looked after that, whether it was me doing kind of the coaching side of it, and he'd be hopping in and out and talking to the defence. But for the most part, say 70% of it, I would have done it with kind of Robbie, and then Sean, you would have had an input in from the forwards, and you're pulling lads in and everybody's talking. But to be in the middle of it is great, because they're your ideas. You want to get that onto a lad, you can see something, you can talk to them as you're doing it through it. And then there's nights there where you kind of, if you had the numbers, you would have just stood back and let them do kind of an in-house game or whatever, and trying to pull a few lads off the back of that. But you know, to try and get as much repetition as you can, just to be in the middle of it and to be able to see it, and you know, to go through it and what you needed to do. And
even the challenges part is because even though they talk about a split season, it's not a split season. You know, it's like, I'm sure you started back in January and you're going till September. It's a 9-month season, and so for some it'll be 10 months, and then you're on the back maybe here in Kildare of a under 23 competition, which throws loads of football, and all the lads are getting football, and maybe not in the bigger clubs, but certainly in the rural clubs. So you have to try, while you do want to be, like, the game is the game, and you do have to try freshen it up, and you do have to, and that can be, you know, because your league is finished, and in Kildare it runs straight through, which is great. So then you drop off to drive for the championship again to get another buzz, and then so there's so many different things outside of your control that can judge, or which you'll get judged on at the end of it. As a manager, results land on your door. You know, so it's complicated.
It is. You're trying to work back from a certain date or a certain target, and trying to plan a mini pre-season or for championship or whatever you're trying to do, depending on how a league finishes and who's there, and depending on numbers then as well. Like we were probably down, I'd say 8 over the last maybe 3 or 4 league games with lads gone to Canada, America, and we had few lads away and long-term injuries, couple of hurlers, and you know, so it's trying to balance that and get that right, and still work on tactics, and so everybody knows what they're doing, and whoever comes in, even irrespective of the position, you know where you need to be or what you need to do.
Yeah, but it does make it like you could be saying, right, let's work on our kick-outs, and you decide, oh, well, our two midfielders are not here, and and next thing it's breaking down, and that's getting frustrated. This is not working, and I'm thinking, but hopefully when the quality comes up a bit, it will work. And it's, you know, so there's so much going on. It is a tricky one, but we're still there because we love it, and you want to be part of, because you know the bond that's created.
But I have to say, with the lads, like, and just speaking from me, like, their attitude was so good over the last 2 years. To be fair to them, they want to make Easttown better and get Easttown to a better place. To be fair to them, and it's just now about getting the balance right between having that consistency, you know, to believe that they're able to compete with, you know, anybody in the county. Do you know what I mean? And people might laugh at that or whatever, but you know, I think the ability is there to do that, and you know, for them to believe that now is the key thing going into next year for them, that you know, they can compete with anybody underage, you know. So that's the balance.
And I suppose, I think you were saying you're into your second year, like it's always hard. I'm sure after last year you probably say, I'll give it a week or two and see what I'm going to do, and I'm sure I won't budge in that position. I'm sure it'll be the same again. In terms of like coaching and managing, like, I suppose what we're all about, we're kind of clinched, is, you know, trying to link up managers and clubs, and like I'm sure you've enjoyed managing a team, but you might get, let's say you do 5 years with Eadstown, and you say, right, someone else is going to come in. Is it something that you enjoy, that you think, geez, I like another challenge, I enjoy doing it? Like, it's funny with talk at the minute, like then with managers kind of outside clubs, and it has been talked about, but it is difficult. Like I was saying last week, like if I want to manage Lawrence, it's like, well, they might say, well, you have no experience or something, and now I'm with Clonmore and Carlow, and I'm really enjoying it, and it's great, and like you said, I'm learning loads, and jeez, there's things you don't even think of. But like, I'm sure my time will finish up there, and there might be a new, you know, you go somewhere else. Do you think it's something that you've enjoyed, that you think, well, maybe, I suppose, look, you're in the middle of Easttown, but like that you'd like, look, it could be with Kildare, it could be further on down the line, it's something that you enjoy, that, because I suppose, look, like us all, we're football mad. If you don't have football, we give out about it on a Tuesday and Thursday, sometimes you go, jeez, thoughts trend, but then when you don't have it, you be going demented at home. Is it something that you'd like to keep doing, I suppose, over a prolonged amount of time, or do you think, you know, or have you, you know, thought
I
about
don't know,
that,
I think like there will come a time with Easttown, whether it's this year or next year or the year after that, you know, they're going to be, you'll have got them to a point, and maybe you might stagnate, or you mightn't be able to get any more out of them, and it might take a Podge or a Johnny to come in to get them to the next level, and you just have to have the realisation, the humility to say, right, okay, that's enough, I may step away here for the betterment of them, to be able to get a new voice and to kick on again, or whether you refresh a management team or whatever. But I'd love to get involved with a different challenge, like whenever it is, absolutely, whether it's an intermediate team or senior team in a different county, or I'd love to be able to, like Johnny did, to be able to give back to Kildare for the years of service that they've given to us as well, you know, whatever capacity it is. I was lucky enough to be involved with Flano for 2 years with the 20s, and, you know, learnt loads from him. So to be able to give back, maybe higher upgrade at some stage, whenever that is, could be 10 years, could be tomorrow, I don't know, but from that capacity, definitely I would like to.
Well, just when you are, just make sure you sign up to Clinched for your opportunities. No, but it's something, sometimes like people talk about maybe merry-go-round or that, but like Noel Mooney was with G, and super 2 years, and he probably felt that then kind of, you know what, I've kind of got them as far as I can, and now he's out with Lawrence's. But like, it's a new challenge. It's I suppose it's different when you're playing. It's not like you're shipping around, but as you said, like, from a player's point of view, usually when you have a manager 3 or 4 years, it's nearly like, fresh. But does that mean then,
that's
from a
end,
management point of view, just there's nothing for me where,
well, I do think, you know, when you think about, like, you know, I would have been involved with Minute Sigerson team for a while there, and like, that becomes your focus. But I couldn't. Alan Wood will always be my club, and I'm just immersed in, and I love all the good things about it, and I hate all the bad things about it, and that'll never change. But the dressing room doesn't change either, really. You know, you can be very lucky. You can get a really good group, But it is always managing and coaching. It is always about the people. It's not really about the jersey. You know, like you'll have, I'm sure you could name 2 or 3 characters in your dress room, and I could match them up with 3 or 4 hours, and you could say, oh, Jesse, we've one of those jokers, or we've one of those lads that take it serious. And it's all those that you get the kick out of. Like, I think, look, we all, and anyone that played the game would say, look, it's playing, the playing is the peak of it, but getting involved and with a group that, you know, you've influenced, and it mightn't be, you mightn't get the reward for it on the pitch, or you mightn't get the reward for it, you know, when the silverware is given out, but you could have shaped those people, young lads, as going into adult life, maybe given an extra year or 2 to someone that was thinking, you know, my time is done. So you've such an influence on them as well. And as you say, Emmet, like, you know, just because one chapter closes, you should be able to go, and I know you can, you go and do that and take on another challenge and get us, okay, maybe it is a little bit different, it'll always be different in your own club, but you can still get a right good kick out of it as well, you know, being involved.
And it does, I suppose, create a network or something. So you go anywhere in the country, you're running into lads, or you know, and that's great. And sure, it's just chatting football and having the crack, and yeah, no.
But I remember seeing an interview. I think it was Brian O'Driscoll did it with Henry Shefflin. I don't know if you remember that. And he was asking, would you ever manage against, you know, could you manage? I just couldn't manage against Kilkenny. And I think 6 months later, he was managing Galway against Kilkenny. So, like, if an opportunity lands, you know, you'd be mad not to take it if there was an opportunity there to bring it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
definitely. And I suppose look at your playing career. We went kind of skipped ahead to management, but it was 2007 you made your debut under. Was it John Crofton?
I made my debut under John Crofton.
Under John Crofton, and I suppose
a year under John, and then Geezer came in.
Geezer came in. Did you play much underage with Kildare?
I played minor. I was under 14 B teams, under 16 B teams. Played minor. I played under 21s at the time, and then my last year under 21s, Lee McLaughlin was actually our manager, and Johnny Crofton rang me then and called me in. Then after that summer, I went away to America for the summer. I think I was 20, I think, and then Johnny rang, will you come in then in whatever it was, November or whenever, October, November at that time.
So that was kind of huge at the time, I suppose. That was kind of...
Yeah, the jerseys were hanging off us and
They were the best jerseys.
The tight fit are still hanging off me.
But no gear. Do you remember those? It's like, you know, you were training over in...
Ellistown or in
McDonough.
McDonough. The Curra,
yeah. So
because Hawkfield wasn't done at the time, so... And we were actually, we trained in McDonough. Oh, no, we didn't. We trained in McDonough.
All we used to do was laps.
Kildare Rugby.
Running after him.
Kildare Rugby Club. Kildare Rugby Club.
Yeah.
There was great surfers over there, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, Jesus. Yeah.
But John Doran was coaching us that time, and like that.
Running around rugby pitches.
Running around the pitch, yeah.
And then I suppose the geezer came in then, and it probably was. You're probably seeing, like, it's not any disrespect to previous managers, but it was probably around that time in the GA anyway that everything was changing with Jim and what would you say? What's the word?
Just the whole professionalism side of it.
And just I can't think of the words. But yeah, like, and obviously probably I'd say when you look back, like when Geezer was where really you played your best football and you were nominated for an All-Star, and I think in 2010 you're on the GPA Team of the Year. Like, do you still, I suppose, think about, like, it's great days, like, and I suppose you probably were one of those first, like, where the game was transforming, that scoring wing back and coming up with big scores. Like, I think I played one game against Limerick and went extra time. I think you kicked the leveler in that game. I think you could have done, but I remember burying one against Monaghan in Crow Park.
That was a great goal,
under the lights. But
we were lucky that day against Limerick in Portlaoise.
Yeah. Did you kick the leveler that day?
Yeah. But you won it back in the
Jimmer won it Jimmer won it on the end line.
Yeah.
And then it worked the whole way up then.
And we couldn't understand how no one pulled them down. You went the whole end of the pitch. I
was delighted because I think I got about 2 minutes and then I went extra times another 20. But I suppose, like, looking back on it, you know, they were great days. Like, do you miss it? Do you know, or what kind of thoughts on it? Or
I think, you know, obviously we did what we did or whatever and came up a little bit short, but the memories in terms of the crack we had, like, they're unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Just the slagging and the messing, and, you know, like, I would have come in even, and it would have been my second year at that stage, you know, but you're growing up watching your man, you're growing up watching Durr, Rainbow, Rowley, and next thing you're sitting in a dressing room there saying, these lads are so professional, and your man's sneering the head off you the minute you walk in the door. Do you know what I mean? But come pitch time, it's different level, and you see the will to win and the desire and the professionalism and everything that goes with it. But when Geezer came in, to be fair to him, he just brought a total different level of professionalism to it. But a belief as well that we could compete with anybody.
Yeah.
Once you get a lad fit and you prepare him right and you get that bit of belief, they'll do anything. And, you know, that's where we were. And we were maybe a couple of forwards short, maybe, or, you know, a couple of players maybe short to get us over the line. But, you know, in terms of regrets, there's none for the effort that we put in and, you know, how we went about our business at times. But it was unbelievable crack, to be fair. You know, and in sport, you're going to lose more than you win. And there were some really, really hard days, and we had some good wins and celebrated them, and they were great. But I think the memories and the friendships you make off the back of it, you don't have to like a lad. And I'm walking down the street and you see him, and right, we've soldiered away there, or you're in a nice little WhatsApp group there with a few of them. 20 years later, and still the best of pals. Still great crack, and you know, you might meet once a year and you're talking about those memories and the crack and everything that you've had, and I don't think you get that really in any other sport, and you probably do, but you know,
but it's
biased there in
something
that
outside,
regard.
and there was like such a tight knit, or
it
was
us against the world effectively for a while. Do you know what I mean? There was siege mentality there,
and in fairness, we did train really, really hard. No, be straight and honest, we trained very hard under Johnny Crofton, and I trained very hard under Pádraig Nolan, and you know, managers I played under before. But it was that just no excuses here, you know. And he pushed you hard. In fairness to Geezer, he pushed you hard. But even though, and you mentioned Buzz, the crack and the fun we had, and he pushed that too.
He did.
Going out, win, lose, or draw, we're going for a drink. We're going together. You know, and we normally headed for Naas, it was the centre of the county. Now, like, you know, Mick Foley was expected to come from Athy. You know, Hugh McGrillen was expected to come from Selridge. We were in this together. We win together, we lose together. And in fairness to lads, we bought into that, and he expected us to buy into it, and you were accountable for it, you know. And you know, we just got rid of excuses, and we were lucky enough. We got a few great trips away, we had the best of fun. We trained hard on those trips, but we had some great, and it was all harmless fun.
But it's funny when I look back, or when I think about like the trainings, like some of the trainings were like hard, but the amount of football.
Do you remember the strongman session in the cake?
I remember that. Oh jeez, blacked out with the hat.
Floating on by.
Oh jeez, but like, jeez, all the but like we train hard then, and but when the amount of games we play in the summer and the competitiveness,
should have been.
And like you talk about great cracking on in the dressing room, lads would be absolutely hopping on each other.
They're killing us.
And you bring in John Bannon, you know, to do the refereeing, and he'd get dogged out.
I know, to protect them, or he couldn't send the lad off.
Cursing out.
He'd nearly be crying, God love him, for the abuse he got. Because it was just so competitive, wasn't it?
It was
lads thumping.
Like I remember the drill he used to do, but it was like I'd find it harder than any running where he'd have the balls along the line, and the two keepers would have to have a ball on the cone to kick out. So as soon as the ball was gone dead, the kick out had to be gone. Sure, like in a normal game, if you played a half, the ball might be in 16 minutes or something, but the ball was just constantly in. Yourself tearing up the pitch, like McLaughlin will go. Fitzy used to be
Ollie, in fairness,
Ollie. Oh Jesus, your heart would be broken.
But it's in a great way to train, so that you know you're making decisions under pressure, making decisions when you're tired. You're trying to do the basic skills, even at high intensity
as well. Like, you know,
imagine if you tracked. It would be fairly hard if you tracked.
Go for me, Johnny. Oh Jesus!
But it was.
But you had opportunities to show. Like, you can do drills in training sometimes, but in a game you can see, fuck, there's a lad flying here that's you know, and kind of give you the opportunity going over there that you can go, or you come home and say, right, I was shit tonight.
It was off tonight.
I mightn't start, but no.
And you work. That was the other thing as well. Like, lads would tell you, you know, there was competition everywhere. Some lads were competing just to make the 26. That was their goal. Other lads were thinking, well, I want to get a start. And then there was lads that were getting a start, maybe not playing, coming off. They're under pressure then Tuesday night to get back because there was another match coming the week after. So it was you never felt like you were in comfort.
But there was an environment there, Johnny, where everybody had a job, so that if Damien Hendy wasn't starting fullback, it was his job to push Mick Foley to be the best that he could be, because if he wasn't, Damo was on his heels and he was ready to play. And Damo knew that, and so did, you know, all the other players that were either between 26 and 30 or 26 and 15, that your job was to make the starting 15 better, and then if somebody slipped or showed any lack of form, you were ready a replacement to come in, and the team didn't suffer off the back.
Yeah, and you were lucky in those, because I would have seen, like, you know, you mentioned Damien, like probably, you know, 2010 he was probably pushing on a bit, maybe wasn't getting started, but he pushed you as if he was the main player.
But there was no, like,
there was no ego.
There was
I would have said, you know, obviously we'd all be great friends with Rolly. Rolly found it difficult at times, you know, maybe in and out of the team. But if you arrived in and watched training, you think, Jesus, is Ronan Sweeney the captain of this team? Because he drove even though he was maybe disappointing. And it's very, very, you can't make those type of players. You can't. But I think that was the benefit. They just drove. You know, we don't give it. Let's be honest.
The bees at times he'd go A's against B's.
Yeah.
Now I was on the B's. He'd play till the A's went in front.
No, but they were
free.
They were
free for Johnny.
Even that was an assault case before he got free. But they would, and you'd even have, like, that time, regardless of, it could have been like if Gies was taking one team and Niall Carew was taking it. There'd be even a bit of competition between the boys, Niall would be saying, get stuck into these. They were sort of one over. I do think that sometimes today, you know, Aidan O'Rourke would had a wager. Who was going to? I said I had a bet. But no, Niall, there was definitely money involved. You know, but like, the crack was.
That was brilliant.
It was great. It was definitely. And you're right though, Emmet. Like, look, if we start talking about the bad days, we'd be here for a week. And there was some really tough, really hard days that, you know, even thinking back and even talking about them, you just, but it's when you're finished and your time is done, you don't judge it on that alone.
Yeah.
You know, maybe other people do. You know, I would feel that group, you know, okay, if you were you say maybe did everyone push as hard as they could? Probably not. You know, there could have been a few more. I think they could have got a little bit more out of themselves. But when your time is done, you look back, that is really what it's all about. It is the dressing room and the friends and we're in a group now. There's a few of us, and like the group could go quiet, and next thing someone's and there's about 400 messages.
Oh my God!
And it's like we were in the dressing room yesterday.
It
just starts the crowd, and nobody's safe. You know, nobody's safe.
But you know, like, you talk, like, Emmet, you were speaking about, like, Eadstown, and you want to, like, leave them in a better place, and you know, shit, like, say the last few years, when it hasn't been so good for Kildare, not winning games, like, they would talk about that team and, like, you know, we need to get back to where we were under McGeaney, competing for Leinster's in, like, at that time you weren't expected to reach a quarter final, but we were well in, and there was kind of like, and well in with chances of winning games where
we were training to win an All-Ireland patch.
Yeah, like,
you know, you were obviously training to take every game.
Where now it might change that if you could get to a quarter final, it's progress. Where like, it might have started off then, right, we got to a quarter final. Now you see you're good enough. And then right in the mix.
It's funny, like, I would have went to different things, you know, maybe a launch of a championship and even maybe the first year or two with Kieran. And you know, say, what's a good year for Kildare? You say, look, you know, the old cliche, it's for us now, you know, having won it and it's one game at a time. You didn't really want to say it because you were thinking about All-Irelands, because you didn't believe it. But 2 years after that, there was no question. It was, we're here to win All-Ireland. And you like, that was totally
that
belief.
Was the goal,
you know, because as I said, there was times I wouldn't have said that because I didn't really believe it. You know, but it's the chicken and the egg. You know, you need to start winning games to get that belief and confidence, you know, and we had to do that, and we suffered a few tough defeats under Kieran as well, you know, in games that the outside world would perceive. You know, the first game against Wicklow, you know, the whole world thought we were going to win that pulling up, and it didn't happen.
Jeez,
loud 2010, you know.
But there was some games, sometimes it pop up there on Facebook or something, and like, it's I ended up about 3 weeks ago there. Shay was talking to me. I was watching videos of Jimmer Kavanagh.
Yeah.
Just
Just Jimmer be delighted with that. I might edit that bit over.
Because I had been talking to him, and I was telling, I don't know, I said to Sinead, I said about James Kavanagh. She goes, "Who's he?" I said, "What?"
Yeah.
And then I was showing her the goal, the one against me.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
The boom up to the
Jimmer was talented,
up to the
wasn't he?
hill.
Right.
Class.
Yeah.
Do you remember the night in training? We were training in Conlitz, and Mikey Conway got a ball, cornerback position, and I was marking Jimmer, and he was running across the far 45, so it's probably about 100 yards, and he ran the full way of the pitch with his arms out. "Give me the ball." Mikey says, "I wouldn't have got with a cannon," but he was so aggressive, and he was a brilliant player, both feet, strong, grumpy,
just footballer, wasn't he? Like,
I really he'd like. When the conference was up, there was no better around at that time. Like he just had everything. Yeah. He would
great in the air.
Yeah, great hands. And two brilliant feet. Like.
I'd say he's just naturally like good at everything.
Yeah,
I playing him in ping pong when I thought it was going.
Yeah, he was.
And he battered you as bad at boxing. And I suppose obviously looking at Eadstown, do you have 2 intermediate championships? One in 2014. Did Eadstown win 2004? No.
They got to 2 finals. They got to I can't remember the exact years. I think it was 2000 and 2001 or 2001, 2002. They lost to Selbridge and Retangan.
Right.
I think was Mark Millam over them the 2 years? Right. I could be wrong there now. But they lost 2 intermediate finals in a row, and then they won the intermediate in 96 against Kevin's. That could have been after a replay.
That's right, yeah. That's right,
Dave Cavan and all those lads were on it. I can't remember before that then.
And you were captain in 2014, were
No,
you?
No, Eddie Conroy.
Eddie Conroy. Yeah. And I suppose like that was probably one of the standout days for Eadstown. Or if you look back, I know obviously lots of good days and getting up senior and competing. Then
that was the best Podge.
Really, by mile. It's funny because I'd say, and this isn't a thing putting Eadstown down because now they're in a really good place. But there was a few years when Eadstown came senior and everyone was like, "Oh, Eadstown are going to get relegated." And I think did you draw or lose by a point to Moorfield?
We lost to 2 by Moorfield the year we came up, 8-6.
Yeah.
Darrell Flynn actually started a row on the sideline.
Surprise.
Just to kind of slow the play down. They went off and then they kicked 2 points because we had just got so wound up and got involved in it and just queued.
You relegated us in 17, I think. Was it 17?
Oh, yeah.
17, yeah. Never apologised.
But you stabilised into a really good senior club. Like, as in, there was probably, I'd do a few years that I remember people saying, "Oh, Eadstown will get relegated," but you started to put a stamp on it then and do really well. I suppose just looking at Keane got man the match, did he? And obviously, was your father involved?
Dad was involved. That was a selector with Desi Brennan.
That was
a lovely family.
Yeah. Savage. And who Towers is beating the final.
Towers. So we had started really bad that year. I can't remember who we played in the group stages, but we got bet by Retangan over in Hogfield. I think we got bet well. I can't remember the score, but I remember standing in the middle of the pitch with Barry Lawler after saying, "Where are we going from here?" And then it just, whatever happened, it just kind of took off. I think we all said, "Right, lads, look, whatever happens here, just stick the head down, train as hard as you can." I think we bet Suncroft, might have bet Ellistown, bet Kilcock in the semi-final with a last-minute worldie of a point from Robbie Smith. Remember someone shouting, "Don't shoot." Next thing here, he splits the post. And then I think we went in against Towers and just whatever way the game went.
Just keep
it was I remember about 20 minutes to go. It was just real eerie and, that, geez, we have this here. Do you know what I mean? In terms of just with the way we were playing and just nothing was really going right for Towers. So we came out of nowhere that year.
Right, you were
absolutely nowhere because we 3 or 4 years before that we were in relegation finals and intermediate.
Right, and maybe that's why. I don't know why you remember when you go senior. Maybe it was that no one expected you to win.
No, there was a year, Podge, where we lost every league game, every championship game, and won the relegation final. So it was the only game we won all year. Do you know?
That's a bit peaceful.
Do you know what I mean? So so that's where we had come from.
And you turned,
And the work that's gone in, same as every club. Do you know the work that's gone in to the underage in Easttown now is like I didn't play with Easttown until after 6th class. Do you know what I mean? Because there was nothing really from an underage there. Whereas now, like my young lad is last Friday started the under 6s down there. Do you know what I mean? And the place is hopping. Friday night lights they call it, because you have under 6s, 7s. The place is rammed, and all of that's down to people just taking the time and putting development works in over the last 20 years to bring all of these younger guys up.
And as you said, the ladies even from both sides, ladies and men's, yeah, and
so it's great.
Yeah, no, it is, and
full credit to them for doing that, because we had to amalgamate under 14s, 15s, 16s, 70s for years, and then just
probably not having huge numbers.
No, like you'd have 6 on an under 21 team, like with Ballymore and Kill, or with Ballymore one year, or with Kill another year, you know. So and just they've developed players over the last couple of years, and it's been great. To be fair,
down to a lot of hard work.
It is, and it's in every club, you know, not just obviously not just us, but
whatever. But like you have to develop the players, but then to do that, if you want numbers up, you have to develop facilities, and they have to go, and because we have to attract these players, and you know, some great when you're, you know, they're a traditional GA family, they'll come, but the guy just thinks, well, I want to play sport, and my options are soccer, maybe Naas Rugby or Eatstown. If your facilities are not up to, they'll move, they will, and they'll go somewhere else, you know. So there's it's only when you go down as a young man, all is happening around you, but all you're really focusing on your own and playing the game. It's only when you stop and you go back and see the work that goes on. Like it's phenomenal.
And you probably have more probably be a lot of rugby kind of around Easttown.
It's load of
competing with, and it's like that. And usually the good.
You have the Tyburn, and you know, you have a few households.
You have Tyburn that lives like 300 yards away from Easttown pitch, and then you have Jimmy O'Brien that lives another 600 yards down the road from him, and then, you know, I think Jamie Osborne, I don't know if he's Naas, or he might be in the parish. Ushin Kilgallen is playing with
Punchestown, I think. So
that's Easttown, and then Ushin Kilgallen, is he still with Connacht, I think, or is he? He's Easttown. So like there's a big rugby culture. Ron Osborne was playing with Leinster and Munster, and he retired with concussions. So
you see the young lads, they're looking at these boys on the telly, and I saw him at the shop the other day, and so it's attractive. So we have to make our games attractive, and this is why, you know, I would have been like, even the clubber is so important.
That is,
you can sit down and watch it, and your kids are watching. They might be in and out, but they're or Tangan win or Easttown win.
And the commentary on it is just like
well.
Anyway, people, next talk.
Sometimes we have to turn it down and put on KFM.
I suppose just quickly looking forward to this weekend's games, Selbridge and Moorfield, Sarsfields and Johnstown, Clane and Naas, Cara and Athy. I think, and as you say, like, it's about bridging the gap. I think if Selbridge, Sarsfields, Naas and Athy win, would that be the third year in a row? It's the same semi-final. I think so. I think there was something last year as well, that it was like from the last 8 it was the same, and then it was the last 4, and it is about, and it's up to look, I'm looking there, I'm saying that, like, everyone's trying to, we talk about Clane being contenders, like it's up to, they've probably have a good few young players.
I'd have, it
is up to the rest of us, I suppose, to bridge that gap and change it. Do you see any upsets at the weekend out of them? Like Moorfield or Feckers, aren't they? Everyone said the same thing after last weekend.
They're never
been Moorfield. They're never bet.
And then look at it. You see, the weather could have an effect. It gets a windy, wet day. You know,
and it is nearly into winter football.
Yeah,
now,
it's getting close. Yeah, so
windy. And
do Moorfield have a chance? They have a hell of a good chance, I think. You know, if they can keep in the game like they tend to do, keep just chipping and stay in the game, they have a right good chance. Now, if the floodgates open, which we don't associate, I think, like, you know, let's go through that Selbridge team. There's a lot
on
of
paper,
but if there was an upset coming, I would think that's the most likely from where I'm thinking. I could be very wrong, and my history of trying to predict matches is very poor, as I've been told on several occasions. But I think that one could go down.
Might be the one,
The Clane and Naas game, it'd be interesting to see whether where Sarvis are after poking the bear with Naas. Do you know, and they've gone away now, they've reflected and said, right, look, that was the time to get bet. Now we need to get our act in order here now and see how we go. You look at Clane, you've Harry O'Neill, Adam Fanning, Shane O'Sullivan, Brian McLaughlin. Do you know, serious footballers there that,
you know,
absolutely, and when they get going.
And it is funny, like you referenced that at the start.
Paul Kelly's a good manager, do you know what I mean? And from a matchups point of view and tactics, and
as you says, the first game they lost in 5 years, like the changing room, like you were saying after the first game, or when you get beat, like it's hard, and then you get a win and it changes it. Like, like I said, the team I'm with in Carlow Glamore, we were beaten in the first game and heavily beaten, and it's like she'd be pressed off your face all weekend. The next thing, we won the following week, and everyone's out training and buzzing. And like, will it, as you say, will it affect Naas? Look, as you say, they might look at it and say it doesn't matter, but still the first time they've been beaten in 5 years. They're not bulletproof. Maybe
I was talking to a guy from Sartrees, and I said, it's a great win for Sartrees. It seemed to be coming. Yeah, but I don't know about Naas. Were they really trying? And I said, you got to think, like, if you're in the Naas camp and you're looking at, okay, we're going for 5 in a row. Now, I spoke to Ondale during the week, and I'm sure it's not they're not talking about it, but they're thinking about it.
Yeah, well, they know that. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, who's going to upset us winning the championship? Who's the contenders? Sartrees are up there. So you'll be saying, listen, let's put these boys back that they think, sure, we've no chance of beating these. If we meet them later on, they're going to be thinking about this game. Yeah. That's a fact.
Yeah,
that's a fact. Look, we've all been in a lot of dressing rooms and never. All right, a manager might say, well, look, I'm not going to play Emmet. He's carrying a bit of a knock. Where if it was the semi-final, we'll chance it and see how it goes. I get that, but I think that defeat will have hurt Naas. Now, if it hurts them enough to drive them on, remains to be seen. Or if there's a few people saying, look, it's not the end of the world, and they haven't learned from it, which I think they will. But I know, talking to a couple of Naas lads, they came away disgusted at how the team played. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. Very interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's hopefully we get a few good games. I probably agree with the more, like, I seen Selbridge against Clotterinco, and on paper you're like, jeez, he's county. And you're kind of going, jeez, they've some team, and they struggled to put Clotterinco were obviously down a good few this year. Then I know they went out and beat a tie and probably look good. So it's probably finding that consistency.
I would have felt the first day. I know it was the first. I suppose we go into the winners group, the preliminary round. Naas or Selbridge and Clane played, and I thought they were poor that day as well. Like, they did end up winning by whatever it was in the end. I'm not sure, but you weren't thinking at that stage. No, it's early rounds, and
and they were the same against Johnstone Bridge, Johnny. When I watched that, looking at Johnstone Bridge, they were making mistakes that you wouldn't expect them to make mistakes. Getting into the final third and actually soloing a ball into the opposition. So small little stuff like that, taking it into the tackle when you see lads wouldn't be doing that, a bit static, and you wouldn't expect that from Selbridge. So I'd say there's a sting in the tail.
They'll need to be on,
for them to begin.
I suppose kind of main players like Aaron Brown, he's probably trying to get into the Kildare setup. He'll score well in championship, but for him now is probably, I'm sure Flanagan be looking at him in this game, or the bigger games. Can he produce now?
That's it in a tight game.
He seems really talented.
He is, like, he's two great feet, and like he's one lad that probably has put his hand up from a scoring point of view, and now Brian would know him very well, as you know him very well with the 20s and that. But the challenge is, can he go to another level? Now, what that level is for him, remains to be seen. But is he be the one now in a tight game that pulls out the big score, the winner? Can he win a dirty ball? They're the little things that are going to bring him to the next level.
Absolutely.
While the scoring is, he is very good, but it can't be the definition of his game.
The big games to stand up.
The other bits and pieces, but they have all over. Like Niall O'Regan is playing great football. For them, you've
was he involved in Kildare underage teams? Was he?
He was.
He was. He's good. Great attitude.
Like Dean O'Donoghue, who's another lad who's playing reasonably well.
No, they do. Like the
Tony Archibald,
Fergal Conway still going well. Like Paddy Brophy played last day, and he seemed to pick up an eagle. Mick O'Grady. Like Hugh McGrillen still going well enough. Mick Constantine, another one.
And that's their half back line. Niall
O'Regan,
Regan, Constantine, and
Shane McNamara is probably rated as one of the. So like when you do look at their team on paper,
raw materials are good.
Davy Hughes coming off the bench. So no, it'll be an interesting few weeks, and hopefully we'll have a few good games in there.
The Cara one as well, Podge, will be interesting. I know it's a big ask for them, but they've done really well. Probably suited them to be. I know they were obviously a big game in the first one around Raheens and local Derby, and probably were very close to winning that game.
They were lucky not to win that.
They were, Like I think Jack Taff kicked up a couple of massive scores that day, just got Raheens over the line, but they probably benefited of going into that losers. They've got a couple of wins under a belt, and
it's a hard one, and actually there's something last format, like it's the same thing. You go out to win your first round, you can never, but like if you've sometimes it's very hard to go and face Naas, Clane, or say if you're going Naas at High Selbridge, and if say things don't go your way the first day, and then you're facing into a Sartrees, it can be very hard. Like I would have found with Lawrence's for a few years there, maybe when we weren't going as well, but you get into a losers group and you go, right, we can top this now and get real momentum and get into a quarter final and get confidence. Like, it's a funny, I do like the format of the championship in Kildare, but as you say, Cara probably in a quarter final now, like, would they have topped or finished first and second in Sarsfields in the Ace group?
No,
probably not.
No,
where now they've built, got a few wins and
they're
it is
they're
a funny
in a really
one.
good place. And I was talking to Michael Brown, like, in, you know, they're really happy with where things are, and like, it is a big ask for them at the weekend, but it's a shot on. They've nothing to lose. Like, they've
because even when I know you were saying disappointed the first day against Cara, like, it's funny then. A lot of people had wrote off then against Carberry, and you're like, who's kind of looking at us? How, like, if it was the first round, you'd probably say I take Eastown, and just because the first defeat then, and I think Carberry went all right the first day, but it's funny. But then you say you got over them, and then training picked up, and then you go in against Comfy, another good win.
The greater groups, like, we bet Clane in the preliminary round last year, and massive buzz, and then the draw comes and you're playing Naas, Sarsfields and Comfy. So you're going out to obviously try and win every game, but realistically you're like, if we come third, you're into preliminary quarter final, you know. So ultimately it comes down to the Easttown Comfy game. And then we lose to a tie in the first round this year, and you're into a losers group with Cara, Comfy and Carberry. So straight away you're there. Right. All four teams are there. I'm going to top the group. And then we lost the first one, so your goal is just changed. We need to come second here, and we're in the preliminary quarter final again. So it's good structure to be fair. Sometimes the reward for winning is
it's not so because sometimes then when you be down, if like maybe towards relegation, it's like, oh, everything's into this first game, like, but then then the reward for winning the first game sometimes can be not so good. But no, look, as I said, we have a few big weeks ahead. Lads, thanks a million for that, Emma. Thanks so much for coming in. It was we were delighted.
It's a trip down memory lane.
There's
a lot of stuff that didn't come onto the table. I was going to ask you about. Maybe that's for we're a family show here, so we we'd plenty of good memories and good crack, and
for sure.
We would have loved to reach the promised land. We got close. We got a look ahead, but we that's as far as we couldn't get our hands on it.
Hopefully that's back there now in a coaching or a managing position, balls. Thanks a million, Johnny. Thanks as always. This is All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. You can download our podcast Friday morning wherever you get it. We'll be there. Thanks for listening.